Welcome, my name is Thomas Schroek. I trade in naturally colored gemstones, primarily for investment purposes. The name of my company is The Natural Gem, and today I'm going to tell you about types of gemstones. Commonly, if you go out there and ask people, do you know anything about investment stones? Then the first thing that comes up is the diamond. Well, yeah, sure. In human history, the diamond isn't the oldest investment product, but rather, even if they weren't called that back then, ruby, sapphire, and emerald. And with that, we're right in the middle of the topic. What types of gemstones are there? Well, there's the diamond. That's a single group. Why? The diamond consists of pure carbon. If it has no impurities, then it's white, just as we know it. But there are also fancy diamonds, colored diamonds, which can be very intensely colored. There are yellow diamonds, which are colored by nitrogen, orange, also nitrogen. Green, that's green due to radioactive radiation, natural radioactive radiation. Blue diamonds, boron, the element boron as an additive. Then you have pink diamonds. Crystal lattice shifts have led to this stone-looking pink to us. And then, of course, there's red and purple. We'll leave those out. They're so rare that they're hardly important here. Diamond, one pillar. Second pillar, much more important to us than the diamond, corundum. Well, what is that? Corundum is the overarching group for ruby and sapphire, right? Ruby and sapphire are chemically exactly the same. Chemically, they're also called Al2O3, so a simple aluminum oxide. Nothing special, it's found everywhere on Earth. If this Al2O3, the corundum, had no metal ions in it, no additives in it, then it would be colorless like glass. You all know this very well. Every one of you who wears a high-quality mechanical watch has synthetic sapphire as the watch crystal. This synthetic sapphire has no additives in it, so it's white. Hardness grade 9, incredibly hard, perfectly suited for watch crystals. But with that, we've already answered something. Namely the question, is there synthetic ruby and sapphire? Answer, yes there is. And specifically since 1873. That's when we first discovered that you can replicate ruby and sapphire, build them according to nature. That means you all know synthetic white sapphire as watch crystals. But now back to the true and real ruby and sapphire. If I have chromium ions present during the formation of corundum, I get ruby. Humanity agreed at some point 500 years ago that we would always call red corundum ruby. That means with ruby, you do not need to specify a color. In contrast, sapphire can take on all colors in nature. It can be colorless, just like your watch crystal. It can be yellow, green, blue, pink, or purple. It can even be almost black. That means with sapphire, we always mention the color, although I will say it again. Ruby and sapphire are complete sister stones, and they both fall under the broad term corundum. The third major pillar is called beryl. What is that? Well, that is the overarching group for emerald. The formula is much more complex. It is a beryllium silicon oxide. Its formation is also more complex than that of ruby and sapphire. It is softer with a hardness of 7.5 to 8. And this beryl group includes its most prominent member, which is emerald, then aquamarine, which is this light blue stone, morganite, this pink beryl, goshenite, that is what white beryl is called. I will go into the individual types later, and all of that is beryl. Let us start with emerald. Emerald has a crazy thing in common with ruby. Now you might say, okay, ruby is red and emerald is green. So what could they possibly have in common? The craziness of nature, and this is truly fascinating, it amazes me every time what nature achieves, is that ruby is colored red by chromium oxides, chromium ions. Okay, we have already said that. It is nothing new. Now here is the crazy part. The green of the emerald also comes from chromium oxide and chromium ions. Oh my goodness, why is that? Quite simply because in dense, harder substances, chromium oxide colors the material red, and in slightly less dense, it has a lower specific gravity, by the way, emerald. In less dense, less hard materials, the same chromium oxide suddenly colors the material green. Crazy, I know, but that is just how it is. And chromium oxide has another special feature. Now let us go a bit deeper for the specialists. Chromium oxide has another peculiarity. It interferes with the formation process of gemstones. What is that supposed to mean now? Quite simply, on one hand, we need chromium oxide to get either the red color of the ruby or the green of the emerald. On the other hand, chromium oxide interferes with growth. It makes the stones cracked and ensures that no large crystals are formed. When I look at emeralds, there aren't any giant crystals there either. With aquamarine, its sister stone, however, there are very, very large crystals, up to 1 meter in size. Why? Aquamarine doesn't need chromium oxide to grow and turn green, or in this case blue, since it's aquamarine. And that's the crazy thing that rubies and emeralds have in common. Both are colored by chromium oxide, one red, the other green. Both have their growth disrupted by the very material that gives them their color. Crazy, I know. So that was the emerald. Next group or next subgroup of beryl is aquamarine. Light blue, beautiful, much purer, much cleaner, much larger crystals. Why? No chromium oxide necessary? Light blue. Then we have a stone, beautiful and undervalued, by the way. I'd strongly recommend it as an investment. It's called morganite. Nobody knows that J.P. Morgan, the founder of the bank of the same name, was an avid gemstone collector. He was so enthusiastic that he said a gemstone should be named after me, and that's how morganite came into the world. The next level down is goshenite, white beryl, named after a place in New Hampshire, namely Goshen. Well, surprise? This stone currently has no significance for investment. It looks like rock crystal, more or less, or has almost the same luster. And then there's one more, which I'll mention just for the sake of completeness. There's also a red beryl, which used to be called bixbyite. This name is no longer used today. There's only one single source on Earth, and that's in Utah, in the USA, one mine. Why isn't that important? Because there are so few red beryls that they're traded for about $1 million per carat. So for the average consumer, it's probably not the first choice. So now we've covered 3 major groups: diamond, corundum, beryl. Then there's a whole range of very important gemstones that can have different varieties. We'll be making separate videos about those. One large group is the spinels. Spinel, long confused with ruby because it can occur in the same deposits as ruby, has a hardness of 8, ruby has a hardness of 9, so also very similar, found in Burma, partly in the same alluvial deposits. Until 1873, the two couldn't be distinguished. Then it was discovered, spinel is singly refractive. We remember refractometer, sending light through a prism, refraction once. In contrast with ruby, I have 2 lines at the back, which we call doubly refractive. And then, for the first time, ruby could be clearly distinguished from spinel. Nonetheless, spinel is beautiful, has huge catch-up potential, and is relatively, well, actually very affordable compared to ruby. Next group, tourmaline. Also a stone that can take on any color. From white to black and everything in between, it can be multicolored. It's beautiful. And what's more, it can form a crystal in just 700 years, so really ultra fast for geology and gemology. And then there's a whole range of other groups. You're surely familiar with some. Quartz, that's rock crystal. Not necessarily an investment stone, but for enthusiasts like me, still an important and beautiful stone. And then there's a whole range of rarer things like bastnasite, sillimanite, and whatever else there is, but more on that another time. So that was a general overview of gemstones and types of gemstones. Thanks for being here. See you soon, and I look forward to seeing you again.